So just to demonstrate a few ways that I might apply water-based oils, I've got a piece of paper here which I've masked out with ProDec Advance. It's just a sort of decorator's tape. I like to have a sort of defined edge, and it sort of helps to work within it. So I've got the Winsor & Newton Artisan water-based oils. I've got 3 of them here. So I've got Prussian Blue, I've got the Burnt Sienna, and I've got Titanium White. And I like to use the tear-off palettes because I like to have a smooth, hard surface to mix my paints on. So I'm going to start by just mixing a little bit of this blue with the white, and I'm going to use that in my sky. So it's a very sort of smooth, buttery, creamy sort of texture to the paint. So just mixing a bit of it up. And I'm going to want in the sky to have some sort of, some clouds, let's say, with maybe sort of a hint of the burnt sienna in them. So I'm just going to mix a little bit of that up to have ready. I've got a bit of blue left in that as well. Oh, it's all right. So maybe a cleaner version of that as well. It's nice just to have a few mixes on the go before you start. And you can see the sort of colours that I normally make are already coming out here. So I'm going to put a bit of this somewhere down here, just applying it very roughly using my palette knife. And then probably one of my favourite tools is really my fingers. So just to get a nice even coating before I start, I might just decide, I can work over this afterwards, I might just decide to just smear that in. And that's given a really rather sort of deep blue for the sky there. And then I might just come in and smooth that a little bit more. And I should probably go over some of this, so very much just working intuitively as a first coat, so maybe blending them a little bit just as they meet there. I'm quite happy with that as a starting point. I then might think, well, let's go in and put some sea in. So I use these little brushes from, they're IKEA children's brushes actually, but I find these work quite well if I just want to get a thin sweep of paint. And also where they're very cheap, you tend to not be too precious about them. So I'm going to just use the Prussian Blue, and I might just squirt a tiny bit of water in it just to make it go a bit more easily. You can, if you want to use mediums, there are particular mediums you can use with water-based oil, like this Cobra one that I use. You can use ordinary mediums, but as soon as you start using an ordinary oil medium, you're then into having to clean up with the sort of spirits and cleansing materials for proper oils. So let's just maybe, that's going to need a little bit more paint and water to get that moving. Again, maybe put it down first. Drag that across. And I usually do my sea with a brush because I like the lines that it leaves, whereas I don't really like brush marks in my sky. So there's my sea going in. And then I might just get a fairly sort of rough coat of something down at the bottom here. And for that I'll probably use maybe a scraper, just again to get some colour down. So this is very much a sort of starting point of putting some base coats down, just to get rid, if you like, of that white paper syndrome, which is always so daunting at the beginning. And actually, if I leave that at the water's edge there, there's a sense of the spray with that bit of paper showing through. So that's looking quite interesting already, actually. And I might Just make a few. It's probably not got enough paint on it yet to be able to dig into it, but beginning of a mark happening there. I think I might put a bit of land up the top there. So the Prussian blue mixed with the burnt sienna makes a really rather lovely dark. So I don't often use grey, and I never use black. I'd always rather mix my own from the other colours that I'm using. And I think that way you get a more harmonious piece of work if the colours have all come from the same starting point. And then I might, with that, just pull that up a little bit maybe. And again, all of this is very much starting points that I can play with later and work back into. But actually, that's probably doing okay. Just move that over with my fingers. I mean, the lovely thing with the water-based oils, in terms of using my fingers, is of course I just wash them with soap and water afterwards. Whereas if you've done them with, if you're using traditional oils, then it's a lot more challenging to get your hands clean afterwards. So that might do for the moment. Maybe just a touch of something in that just to make it a bit more interesting. And I need to just tidy up so a little bit of the Prussian blue, just tidying up that edge. Working that in. So it's already taking shape as the beginning of a seascape here. Now, I know a lot of you have been interested in some of the stuff I've been doing where I've been really spraying it. So I'm just going to demonstrate. Oh, I don't like that. I think I'm going to work back into that in a minute. If I just put a bit of the colour down, I'm going to do it over here maybe, and squirt it with some water. Hold that up and see how that will run down. And I might then mix it. I'd do this over something a bit drier. In fact, let's just leave that there for the minute and just show you over on this dry bit over here. So if I mix a little bit of the burnt sienna and a little bit of the Prussian blue, and then just let them run, and then I can work back into that, maybe with some white paint underneath. Just move it around a bit. So I'm very much a sort of try it and see sort of painter. So there's some quite interesting stuff beginning to happen on that bit there. Just move that out of the way. And in fact, over on this side where I've got this bit here, I almost feel like I don't need it because I've got some quite nice stuff happening on its own. So a little bit of the blue coming in there. So I probably need to leave this to dry. The water-based oils on paper don't take very long. I can work back into this afternoon. But if I do much more now, the colours are going to get a bit murky because they're all going to mix with each other. And I quite like the freshness of it at the moment. I shall probably lose some of this up here. Ugh, dirty fingers, sorry, silly noise there. So you can see how I've made a little bit of a mess there because I've been a bit impatient and I've gone in with my dirty fingers. So let's just get a clean brush. And actually what I do need to have is my paper towels handy, or my baby wipes handy, to clean up as I go. So actually I'm going to leave this and come back into it when that's a bit drier and work back into the sky. But several sort of ways that you can apply the water-based oils.